Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to put the final piece of the puzzle on my 4-part series, How to Buy a Thousand Trails membership. In this video, I'm going to get into the weeds on what's best for you, a new subscription directly from Thousand Trails or a used lifetime membership available on the secondary marketplace. Let's get into it. Before we start the heart of the content, if you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, turn on notifications, and new to YouTube, give us some hype points. Don't know what it does, but allegedly it'll help me. If you're new to Thousand Trails and wondering what Thousand Trails is and how it's a great fit for your van life, I would strongly encourage you to watch my whole video on why Thousand Trails is great for van life here. By this point, hopefully you've watched 2 of my other videos at least. The first on how to buy a Thousand Trails membership. In that video, linked here, I walk you through my 7-step process of how to go about buying the perfect Thousand Trails membership for you. In my second video in the series, I walk through the multitude of options available to you. That video is here. So today, I'm not going to cover all the different membership types. I'm going to give you a brief overview, and then we're going to move directly to the heart of the matter, new versus used. So in my multitude of membership options available here, I mentioned to you that there are over 3,000 different used contracts, and there are presently effectively 3, arguably 4, different new memberships available. For the new memberships, I'm putting up a chart right now. There's 3 premiums and then the camping pass. I'm going to largely ignore the camping pass. If you call a Thousand Trails membership specialist right now, they would go through those 3 options with you and the benefits and drawbacks of each. Now, that's where you get into the fun part, the used market. So Thousand Trails no longer sells used lifetime memberships. I put a caveat because I say no longer. They no longer sell as of the time of the filming of this video. Thousand Trails has before discontinued lifetime membership sales, only to restart it again at some point in the future. So as of this moment, there are no lifetime memberships being offered directly from Thousand Trails. However, that's not guaranteed to continue. That will become relevant later. The important part is, on the used marketplace, there are an estimated 3,000 different Thousand Trails contracts available. You heard that right, 3,000. They are very, very confusing. There's a lot of them, and there are some weird things out there that I have been studying this for months and months and months, and occasionally one pops up and I go, huh, that's interesting. Never knew that was even possible. Yes, it exists. So, I'm not gonna go through each membership with you. Again, watch my video on the multitude of membership types available. However, what I will tell you is that there's a handful that you're most likely to encounter. Those include an Elite Basic, an Adventure, an Odyssey, or an Ultimate Odyssey, as well as a Platinum. So if you get to know those types, you're gonna have a good understanding of what's currently available on the used marketplace. Before we get into the specifics of whether you should buy a new or used membership, I wanna talk to you about what happens when you buy each membership type. If you buy a new membership directly from Thousand Trails, you're gonna call a membership specialist. I recommend that you use my referral link because you'll talk to membership specialists I trust who are not gonna push you in one direction or another, and who are also gonna give you the best possible pricing right up front. Because there are often specials, and the membership specialists do have some discretion whether to offer you the special. So they're going to give you the best possible pricing up front. They're going to go through your options with you. If you decide to purchase, they're going to draw up a contract on DocuSign, and that day or the next day, you're going to have a working Thousand Trails membership because you are going to DocuSign the documents, make your payment, and go on about your business. You'll have the option to pay it all at once or pay a upfront payment of some amount. I think mine was less than $500. I think an Adventure is $1,000 down, roughly, as of the time of this video. And then you will make monthly payments, or if you decide to make monthly payments as opposed to paying it all at once. There's no additional cost for making the payments monthly, so I did my monthly. Other people's money is always best. If you buy a used membership, things get a little more complicated because you'll be buying directly from a seller, i.e. Thousand Trails is not truly involved in the process until you go to transfer the paperwork. That means, obviously, that there are ripe opportunities for fraud. People sell memberships that are not theirs, they try and con you, they make up fake memberships. Now, that being said, I don't want to dissuade you from buying a used membership. There are ways to protect yourself, and these get transferred every day without issue. But just be aware of the fact that you are not dealing with Thousand Trails directly. You will be dealing with a third-party reseller, either an individual or a company. So once you guys go out and you've done your shopping and you found your membership, you then need to read the contract, because remember I told you there are 3,000 different memberships, and just because it says Elite Connections does not mean it has a 180-day booking window. Yeah, I know. You think it does because Elite Connections all have a 180-day booking window, right? No, No. So you can't trust the name of the membership. You need to actually read the contract. So you'll read the contract, you agree to it, everything looks good, you'll call 1,000 Trails, you'll ask all your questions, then you guys will agree on price, you'll figure out how you're gonna transfer money, who goes first, you'll call 1,000 Trails, they'll initiate the transfer. Now, luckily that has been going really quickly lately. People have been reporting that it's a matter of 3 to 4 days, 5 days. Before, that was running into the months. Yes, you heard me right, that it could take 1 month or longer. So if you were planning on using your membership fairly quickly to book a stay, not gonna happen. What I will caution you is that could change at any moment, so you should absolutely plan on it taking a month or more for you to get to use your membership and start booking rich stays. So if you have a 180-day booking window, that means you need to buy your used membership nine months in advance. Just a thought, if you want to maximize the benefit. Now, I'll tell you, I don't know that that's big of a deal because when I bought mine, I've had no problems booking campgrounds, but just something to be aware of. All right, so that's what happens if you buy a used membership. You go through all those steps. If you decide to buy a used membership, I gave you some tips on how to protect yourself in my video here on my flowchart for how to buy a 1,000 Trails membership. I suggest you watch that and watch those tips just to make sure you don't get conned. Let's talk about the benefits of a new membership. And while we do that, I'm gonna show you some pretty pictures of campgrounds as well as some fun charts. So first things first, as I've already mentioned, you're buying directly from 1,000 Trails. That cuts out the risk of fraud, it's a little more comfortable, and it's a lot quicker potentially. Setting that aside, the advantages of a new membership is it's one and done. You sign an agreement, it's either 2 or 4 years, you know exactly what your pricing is gonna be, you pay once up front or you pay monthly, and that is the amount you're gonna pay for the duration of the membership. When it is done, you simply walk away. There's nothing to sell, there's nothing to worry about, easy peasy beautiful. The other advantage is you know exactly what you're getting. Unlike used memberships where there are 3,000 different contracts out there are exactly 3 contracts, well 4 if you count the camping pass, for new memberships. So you don't have to read contracts, you don't have to go through 80-page agreements to figure out what you're buying. You're buying exactly what the 1,000 Trails representative told you, right? At least if you talk to my specialist, because I know I can trust them. So you know what you're getting, you're not having to wade through contract after contract after contract, and you don't get things like an Elite Connections that may have a lower booking window than every other Elite Connections membership that you see on the market. So you get certainty in what you're buying, which is a huge advantage. Perhaps the greatest advantage of a current new membership is that you get a low upfront cost. Now that's gonna come with some trade-offs, and we'll talk about that later when we talk about the benefits of a used membership. But the advantage of a new membership is that you can put down a fairly small amount and make monthly payments, and so your upfront out-of-pocket cost is fairly low. New memberships also offer some advantages such as cabin weeks that used memberships may not have. Now for me, a cabin week was not important, I didn't intend to use it, but if you know that your family is gonna visit you once a year at a campground, then a cabin week might be a great thing for you and might be a significant several $100 a year advantage. So you need to speak to a membership specialist to talk about what advantages a new membership may have, because I actually don't know all the advantages because I only utilize part of them. The other advantage of a new membership is it will come with all the bells and whistles right up front for that membership level, meaning you will have Trails Collection, you will have RPI, you will have all of those benefits included in the membership. It is truly a one cost and done upfront deal. The major drawback of a new membership is your term is only 2 to 4 years, meaning at the end of your term, your price may increase. Right now, we don't know how much it's going to increase because they're just starting to do this. I opted for a 2-year term, and my membership will renew year after year at the then current rate, which I'm totally fine with because I only think I'm gonna do this for 2 to 4 years. So for me, that made sense. I'm gonna get into my use case later. Now, let's talk about the benefits of a used membership because there are many. The first benefit of a used membership are there are a lot more options available to you. So in my video on the multitude of 1,000 Trails memberships available, watch here, I go through just some of the most common. And I'm gonna put up a chart right now of some of the most common. But roughly Elite Connections, and Adventure are kind of what's roughly available right now on a new marketplace. But with use, you get things like the Ultimate Odyssey. What's the advantage of an Ultimate Odyssey, you ask? Great question, glad you asked. It gives you a 28-day stay. It is the only membership that gives you a 28-day stay and is only available on the used marketplace. For me, again, 28-day stay not worth it, but for you, that may be a huge thing. There are also some used memberships that get you out of high use restrictions at certain parks, which is great because if you If you're new to the Thousand Trails system, you probably don't know that some of the major parks, the most popular parks, will not let you stay your full 21 days. They only let you stay 14 days. With certain used memberships, you may actually get your full 21 days at certain parks. So there are some advantages to use. The other thing is you get a lot of flexibility. For example, one of my least favorite, but favorite memberships at the same time is an Alliance membership. It gives you a 210-day booking window, which no new membership gives you, but it's also a 10-year contract, meaning once you sign, you're obligated for 10 years. The flip side of an Alliance is the dues are lower, and if you're going to camp less than 55 nights a year, it may actually be a great membership for you. My point being, you have options and you can shop. The second huge advantage of a used membership is that you do not have to do all the add-ons. So if you look at the parks and you say, Ty, I am not going to stay in a lot of Trails Collection parks. It's not worth the $450 a year for me, and I'm certainly not going to use RPI. It's not worth the $200 a year for me. You can opt out of those with a used membership. You do not have to buy them and renew them each year. You can choose what years you want to use them. With a new membership, you are effectively paying for that because it comes with all the bells and whistles, and that is the only way it comes. So you are getting Trails Collection, you are getting RPI. Now for me, I use all of those things, so I am really happy I have those. But if you actually look at the map of Thousand Trails parks, or just Thousand Trails parks, you say, Ty, these are the only ones I'm going to use, period, or I'm just going to be visiting my family on the West Coast and there's plenty of West Coast parks there for me to use, hey, great. Maybe you really do want to consider a used for that reason because you have more flexibility in what your payment is. The additional advantage of a used membership is that most of the time, your dues are tied to the CPI. So you have a kind of set amount that they may increase each year, which is a kind of a nice thing because you're guaranteed it won't go over amount. That is a nice advantage of a used membership. And kind of the final advantage of a used membership, we're going to get into this in a second on my break-even point, but if you are going to be doing this for greater than 5 to 7 years, over time, at the current market rate that used memberships are selling for, you will save money. That is over time and based on you using it, I would say at least 5 years and probably longer, we'll get in that break even. But think of it this way, a new membership is a lower upfront cost and a higher long-term cost. A used membership is a higher upfront cost but lower long-term cost. Let's get into where that break even point is. On my blog, I have published a nifty Google Sheet for you that you can download and use. Here's where you find it. I'm going to put a link to it in the comments. And it's a Google spreadsheet, and I can't tell you the numbers because they change. But you can download my sheet and input the numbers for yourself. Basically, if you take the now current market value of a used membership and you input it in one column, and you call my friends that are membership specialists and you get the most up-to-date pricing from them, and you enter it into that column, putting the Google Sheet up now, you will start to calculate your break even, i.e. at what year do I break even buying a used membership with a new membership. Now, at the current market rate, and again, please double check this because that can change at any point, your break even is roughly your 5 to 7. Depends on your cost of capital and a whole bunch of other things. For example, I get 7.7 on my guaranteed investments, so that's the number I used. But for you, that may be 5%, in which case your break even is going to be sooner than my break even. The point being, this is an individualized number for you based on factors in your life. So please, please, please download my Google Sheet, use it, and calculate where your break even is. Because if you're breaking even at year 5, then yes, you should certainly be considering a used membership if you know you're going to do this longer than 5 years. If you know you're not going to do this for 5 years, I would tell you that a used membership is probably not the way to go. You're probably better off with a used membership like I was, and we'll get into why later. After you've used my calculator and you've determined the break even, I want you to ask yourself a couple of questions. As a trial lawyer, one thing I constantly think about is who bears the risk of loss. I.e., if my house falls down tomorrow, do I have to pay for that or does the insurance company have to pay for that? Well, the same can be said for a Thousand Trails membership. If you stop camping tomorrow because, let's say, something bad happens, you have a health issue, your spouse has a health issue, or something good happens, you had a new baby, or if you're older, you have a new grandbaby, and you say, hey, I want to go be with my grandbabies and I don't want to travel anymore in this RV. That's something that great could happen to you. And if that happens, then maybe you say, hey, this wasn't worth it, right? So loss can be a positive thing too, but what happens if you stop using your membership? Now, if you have a 2 to 4 year contract, yes, you're out the remaining money. That's absolutely true. But if you have a used membership, let's just say you paid $8,500 for the adventure membership up front, and you paid your dues, and you paid your transfer fees. So you were at $10,000 on day one, and you decide to walk away from that. What happens? You don't get any of that money back. You're done. And you won't get your money back with a used or new membership either in terms of the contract you sign, but you may be at a lot less than you would be if you made the upfront investment in used. So think about, who do I want to carry the risk of loss? Who do I want to carry the risk that I stop doing this in 5 years? Because that may influence which one you buy, especially if you're on the tipping point where you could go new or used like I was. How long you anticipate doing this, and what happens if you need to walk away may be key to your mind and key for you. Let me talk to you about a few other things about the used Lifetime. And I'm not trying to dissuade you from buying a used Lifetime. As I said, I almost bought one and changed my mind last minute after I used my own break-even calculator, which is how I got into all doing this, is I created that calculator and realized, wow, I'm better off with a new membership. So I don't want you to think I'm trying to dissuade you from buying a used Lifetime, but let me talk to you about a few things. When 1,000 Trails first stopped selling used Lifetime memberships, there were some folks who took the position that used Lifetimes just got a whole lot more valuable. I simply don't think that's true. And let me tell you what. There are presently 113,000 outstanding 1,000 Trail memberships out there. I don't know how many of those are camping passes versus premium memberships, but suffice it to say, there's a lot of Lifetime out there, and until that supply is depleted, I don't think you'll see prices going substantially up. All of that presumes that the quality of the product stays where it is or gets better, which is a big assumption. And most importantly, it fails to account for the fact that you've just introduced a substitutable product in the marketplace with an unlimited supply. Let me tell you what I mean by that. If you build a $5 million house in Maui and you've got, let's say, a $30,000 a month mortgage, I build a house next to yours, the exact same house that costs $5 million, but I lease that out to my friends for $1,000 a month. So over the 5 years, right, they'll spend $60,000 and you will spend $1.8 million. Which would you rather have? The leased house or the house that you own, that really the bank probably owns? I'm going to tell you, economically, you would be way better off and way richer at the end if you took that money, put it in a bank account, let it grow, and lived off the interest. So the notion that, quote, owning is always better than renting simply isn't true, the same way that sometimes you're better off leasing a car as opposed to owning a car, which is why most businesses actually lease their cars. I just want you to dissuade from the notion that, quote, owning a used Lifetime membership is infinitely better, because frankly, it's not, and economically, it may not make sense. And let me tell you the other reason: as a lawyer, it's not better. And as a businessman and a lawyer, when I look at 1,000 Trails Lifetime membership, what I see is a prepaid expense on a liability, i.e., you have not bought an asset. You have not bought a house, you have not bought a car, you have not bought any of those things. What you have bought is a liability that you prepaid part of. That's how it would be characterized under GAAP. And so you have a liability, not an asset. The fact that you may be able to resell it does not change it into an asset. It changes it into a mitigated prepaid expense. So just be aware that legally, if there were a bankruptcy, you are not a creditor of 1,000 Trails, you are a debtor of 1,000 Trails, i.e. you owe them money. That's how the bankruptcy court's going to see you. So this is not like owning a house or owning a car. It's not even like owning a timeshare. It's a prepaid expense. Another point on the used Lifetime. By removing a barrier to entry, and I kind of already mentioned this, 1,000 Trails has actually devalued the product. Before, a $14,000 barrier to entry for an adventure membership made it a lot harder for folks to get an adventure membership. Now that that barrier to entry is only $1,000, how many more people do you think are going to have an adventure membership? How many more people do you think will have a 90-day booking window? And how many more people do you think will be going Trails Collection to Trails Collection? Let me answer that to you: a lot. So it arguably devalued the existing Lifetime memberships, which is something nobody seems to talk about. So I'm just telling you that to caution you, because a substitutable product now exists, and the notion that doing away with Lifetime because the product no longer uses the word Lifetime instantly increased the value just simply isn't true. So finally, we touched on this earlier, but who bears the risk of loss? If you buy a Lifetime, you do, i.e. you bear the risk that you will have to walk away and you will lose that upfront payment. Now, you still bear a risk of loss with a subscription and a new membership, because you will have to pay out the term of your subscription, which may or may not be more or less than what a Lifetime membership will cost, depending on the deal you got. Just be aware that's something you should consider. All right, let me talk to you about my personal use case real quick. I had originally intended to buy a used lifetime membership, which is how I ended up on the Facebook forum I'm showing you now, which is a great resource for you. I talk about it in the flowchart video of how to buy your 1,000 Trails membership. Again, watch that video. I was originally sure I was going to buy a used lifetime, and then somebody posted a used lifetime for sale for just a whole bunch of money, and it got me curious. So that's when I created the Google Sheet that I'm sharing with you guys on my blog, and that I hope you download, copy, and put it in your own numbers. And what I realized was, for me, I don't plan to do this more than about 4 to 5 years. That is where I would absolutely cap out, because historically I do things for 2 to 2.5 years and then I get bored and I find a new project. And I suspect this will be the same way. However, I knew when I ran the numbers that I could never make the used lifetime make sense for me. So then I started looking at platinum memberships, because they're one of the only ones that are resellable. But by doing that, I was giving up a lot of benefits that I didn't want to give up. Because the platinums I were looking at all had 90 days, they didn't have all the parks, they just weren't great memberships. The only advantage to them that I saw was that they were infinitely resellable, so I could turn around and sell it, and all I was out was my dues. And I think if I was willing to go 1,000 Trails Park to 1,000 Trails Park, and I wasn't looking to go to 1,000 Trails Parks like I do and describe in my why 1,000 Trails is a great benefit for van life, i.e. as a stopover on my way of the journey to the actual destination to refill tanks and do things like that, then a platinum might have make sense. But I did not want to be planning my life around what 1,000 Trails Parks I could access. I wanted to be using 1,000 Trails Parks around the rest of my life, if that makes sense. So for me, a new membership absolutely makes sense. I also want to disclose to you that if you guys do use my referral link, I'm going to connect you with some great membership specialists. They're personal friends, they're people who I recommend, and I do get a very small referral fee. It does not cost you anything. It's paid to me by 1,000 Trails. If you buy through my referral links, you get the same price as if you didn't use it, and I would really appreciate you using it, because I do spend a fair amount of time, as in like hundreds of hours probably, have gone into all of this content, and I would like to recoup some of that time. And also, it does cost me hundreds and hundreds of dollars a year to keep the website functioning and updated, just in server costs and plugins and things like that. So you actually really do help me publish this content, and your help is sincerely, sincerely appreciated. So if you do want to talk to a membership specialist, please use my referral link. And as always, if you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, turn on notifications. Feel free to drop us a comment. I will respond and help you pick out the perfect membership for you. Thanks for watching. Take care.